7:01 in the morning in Hawaii. Okay, so greetings to wherever you are. We're on 7 platforms this morning, and we'd like to send aloha out to each and every one of you. Now, faith as inner alignment. What am I talking about? Okay, so first of all, faith. When we talk about having faith, the first thing that most people think is, oh, okay, faith in God, right? Because that's where you hear it a lot. Okay, but here's what I'm going to propose to you. I'm going to propose to you something really crazy. Okay, I'm going to propose to you that you believe in yourself. Okay, it starts here. Okay, and the reason it starts here is because God lives in here. Okay, the kingdom is within. Jesus Christ told us that. Okay, so the kingdom is within, the kingdom is not without. And the reason why Jesus Christ, told you that the kingdom is within is so that you do not go without. Okay, and let me explain that. When you are focused on things out here, you are going without. Okay, you're going out here. And then you begin to identify with things out here. Then you begin to think that things are solved, problems are solved out here. But this is outside yourself. When you have a problem, when you have an obstacle, when you have a challenge, going out here is not the thing to do. You need to go within. Okay? Because when you ask, when you seek, okay, when you knock on the door, and it opens, seek and ye shall find, okay? It's all in here. It all happens in here. This is what Jesus was trying to tell us. Okay, Jesus was trying to tell us that if you focus on the kingdom, everything else will be added unto you. Now, how does that work? Well, first of all, maybe we should reference Gautama Buddha, who once said that the man who realizes that life is an illusion escapes suffering. What is the illusion? The illusion is that everything out here is the thing, is the solution, is the end all, okay? But it's not. Okay, the only thing out here is nature and things from someone else's in here. That's all that's out here. Okay, where is the kingdom? Where is the Holy Spirit? Where is that energy, if you want to call it energy? You can call this a soul, a spirit, okay, but this is not your body and it's not your name. Now, if you are a smaller unit of the divine, however you believe, whatever you believe, I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but if you are that smaller unit, all you need to do is tap into this energy. And primarily, it's dealing with your subconscious. Okay, your subconscious can make you happy. Your subconscious can bring you riches. Your subconscious can make you wealthy. Your subconscious can make you healthy. Okay, whenever you change your mind, you change your life. Okay, so your subconscious learns to be healthy. How does that happen? Well, your subconscious learns to make good decisions. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're on a diet, because I've been on many diets in my days. Okay, but let's say that you go on a diet. Let's say that you want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, so how would you do that? Well, first of all, you grab grab your affirmation pen. I am so happy and grateful now that, and select your target weight. So let's say it's 190 pounds. I am so happy and grateful now that I am 190 pounds. Thank you. That's your affirmation. Now, how does the subconscious work for that? Well, when you write it, when your brain is in theta state in the morning, before you get going, before you do coffee, before you get out of bed, just write it. Sit up and write it. Then right before you go to bed, every evening, you read it out loud. Now you're speaking it into existence. And what does this do? Well, in about 2 weeks, you're going to feel the shift. Is this a demon thing? Is this a... No, it's not. It's your subconscious. You're writing a new belief into your subconscious. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. And now you keep thinking this thought. So now let's say it's a month later. At 2 weeks, you feel a shift. Now let's say it's a month later. And now you go to the party, and now there's the dessert table. And you've been writing, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am 190 pounds. Thank you. And maybe you're 200 pounds. You get to the dessert table and you see all these beautiful desserts, right? What does your subconscious do? Your subconscious goes, dude, remember 190 pounds? And you're looking at the cakes and pies and pastries, and your subconscious reminds you, hey, what about the 190 pounds? And you look at, and then you go, okay, I passed. There you go, you passed. Okay? That's how it works. Okay? It's not magic. You don't wake up one day and you're 190 pounds. Small incremental change over time equals huge change. Huge change. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, writes about it. Read that book. It's a great book to read. I have the audiobook. I do a lot of audiobooks. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Anna. Good morning, Alan. Good morning, Nana. Good morning, Gamil. Good morning. So affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. If you take all of these 4 pillars and you address it at any one thing, it has to happen. Why is that? Because you program your subconscious within. The kingdom is within. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. That means that all change starts in here. Okay? Let's say you're not getting along with a family member. Let's say you're not getting along with your spouse. Let's say you're not getting along with your neighbor. You cannot change your family member. You cannot change your spouse. You cannot change your neighbor. But you can change the way they react to you. Ooh, how do you do that? You change how you act. Okay? Sir Isaac Newton, right? Action, reaction, action, reaction. Now, if your action is different, you're going to get a different reaction. Okay? So if you're having difficulty with someone else and the way they're acting, all you have to do is change the way you're acting. Because chances are the way you're acting is responsible for the way they're acting. I teach people how to do this with body language. I teach my executives how to do this with body language. So in body language, let's say you go to a cocktail party for a fancy company thing, right? There are certain things you can do with your body that if you do it for, let's say, 30 seconds, maybe 90 seconds sometimes, okay, people begin to follow you. And when you're aware of this, when you're consciously aware of this and you see it happen in front of you, you're like, whoa, I didn't know this could happen. And now all of a sudden you're leading. It's almost like dancing where you lead. Okay? It's almost like dancing where you lead. But now all of a sudden you're leading. Good morning, artist. Good morning, Beetlejuice. Good morning, Happy. Good morning, Bubba. Layla, good morning. So it's almost like there's a dance going on, but you're leading the dance. So first of all, you start leading, and then pretty soon, they're not leading when you start, but pretty soon they start to follow. Then they start to sync up. Human beings sync up. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means like when you start hanging out with a new friend group, right? You start hanging out with a new friend group, what happens? You start using their slangs. You start doing what they do. You start using their expressions, right? Because human beings are chameleons. We adapt to anything. We adapt to environments. We adapt to people. We adapt to policies. We adapt to laws. We adapt to rules. We adapt to everything. And this is why they say, show me the 5 people closest to you, and I'll tell you who you are. okay? Because we start to mirror each other. Life is a mirror. But today we're going to talk about faith as inner alignment. Because in spirituality, faith is less about believing in doctrines or dogmas, okay? It's more of an inner state of trust. An inner state of trust. And trust is built. Okay, even within yourself, trust is built. You have to build trust in yourself, right? Because you test things out and you go, okay, that worked. Okay, now I can trust a little bit more because this worked. If you try something and it fails, what are the odds that you're going to be more faithful? Okay, probably less, right? Okay. An inner state of trust, okay? So like a resonance with something larger than the limited mind. Okay? For most people it's God. Okay? That's the blanket label. Okay? That's the broad label. So it's also profound understanding that life is not random, but it's interconnected. It's connected, but it's interconnected, unfolding with purpose. So this is the universal law of oneness, the first universal law, which says everything is connected. How are we connected? We're not Siamese twins, right? We're not all Siamese twins. How are we connected? Awareness in here. The energy in here. That's what we all have in common. It doesn't mean that, everything is tied in, like every event or every circumstance is tied into a good or bad in the human sense. Okay, but it does mean that there's an underlying intelligence. Everything in the universe is intelligent. Everything. Okay, there's an underlying intelligence. There's a rhythm, the universal law of rhythm. Okay, there's a flow behind existence. Even when we fully don't understand it. Because scientists don't fully understand it. They know there's a connection, they see a connection, but they can't specifically define the connection. They have theories, but they can't specifically define it. Okay, Darlene, how you doing, Darlene? Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Where are you, Darlene? What state are you in? I'm just curious. We're talking about faith today. Okay? So faith then becomes an energetic alignment. Everything's energy. You're not your body, you're not your name, you're that energy that lives in here. Your body carries it around. Your body is a tool for you. It carries you around. Okay? It's like machinery. My hands, okay? They can pick up my pen like this and it can write. It can work for me. But who gives it the signal? The energy in here. Okay? So with that energetic alignment, it's a way of tuning our consciousness, right, to the flow instead of resisting the flow. What flow am I talking about? Energy. When we have faith, we stop clinging so tightly to certainty and instead lean into the trust that the universe or source, higher self, God, Jesus Christ, Allah, okay, will provide. And is supportive of our good intentions. And that's what faith is. Okay, faith beyond the rational mind. Oh, you're in Texas. Wow, I love Texas. That's a great state. Southern Tier, New York. Wow. Okay, so you're far away from where you started. Nice, Darlene. Very nice. Louisville, Texas. Never heard of Louisville, but yeah. Heard of Texas. Love Texas. I love your governor. So faith beyond the rational mind, so the rational, logical mind, okay? It's not about blind belief. Okay, a lot of people think that. They think, well, faith is like, okay, we'll just, suppose the good things will just happen, right? No, it's about a different kind of knowing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. Dallas Fort Worth. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that, of course. Yeah, Dallas Cowboys, my favorite team in the world. Yeah, always been since I was a kid. So faith is not, about blind belief, right? But it's a different kind of knowing. It transcends logic, okay? And the reason it transcends logic is because a higher purpose. Oh, thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, you're in Houston. Wow. Okay, a lot of Texas people. Great. Love you guys. Love you guys. Or girls. Sorry, ladies. Okay. So faith beyond the rational mind, right? Okay. Because the rational mind works with evidence, proof, analysis, logic. Okay. Faith operates on subtle dimensions of intuition, resonance, okay, and felt experience. The things that you feel, sometimes you can't explain it, right? But you have faith that, well, that's divine intervention, or that's God, or that's Jesus, or that's Allah, or however you believe. You can't prove it, right? You can't even prove love. Can you prove love with an equation? I don't think you can define it mathematically, right? But when you feel it, you know it's real. Okay, so yeah, so love, right? We were discussing this yesterday. I was discussing this not on my live, but I was discussing it yesterday with a client. And I was telling my client, right? Because men and women experience a different kind of love. Okay, men get their love, get their nurturing from their moms. Okay, they go out into the world looking for their moms, basically, love wise, and it doesn't exist. It's a fairy tale. Okay, it's a fairy tale. So we can then make the deduction that women don't love men. Okay, in proper context, it's the way men understand love. Okay. So with my young men, I always tell them she does not love you. She can appreciate you. She can be grateful for you. She can thoroughly appreciate what you do for her. She can appreciate that. Okay? She can admire you for that. But she can't love you. Not in the way that they're accustomed to receiving love. Because she's not your mommy. That's what I tell them. Okay, so the other day I have a client, right? And I don't normally discuss these things. But let's just say that I had to let my client know, my client's a woman, I had to let my client know that I know these things. And it instantly warmed up her eyes. She calmed down instantly. Because here's what happens when a man puts a woman on a pedestal. We'll just talk a little bit about relationships and faith, because it mentioned faith in relationships. So here's what happens, right? Men love to do things for women, okay? Because we feel empowered when we do things, okay? But there's a difference between doing something for a woman and putting a woman on a pedestal, okay? You can take her out to dinner, you can buy her a car, okay? But it's when you start putting her on the pedestal like this, like that, okay? It's when you start doing that she starts feeling guilty. What? How does that happen? Well, she knows her, okay? She knows who she is. She knows she's not perfect. So when a man does that, gentlemen, listen up. When a man does that, it makes her very uncomfortable. And she starts feeling guilty because she can't live up to it. Value. There you go. I bet that was a woman doing that. Was that a woman putting up the hearts right there? Yeah? Okay. There you go. More hearts. But she can't live up to that, so it makes her terribly uncomfortable. Okay? Now, you can do good stuff for a woman. You just can't praise her like she's God or a goddess, okay? You just can't. Oh, Darlene, there you go, Darlene. Okay? But men want to provide, okay? And it works generally like this. Women just want to be loved. They just want to be loved, okay? And men are really good at loving women. Now, men love women. Women love their children, okay? Big difference. And it's a different kind of love. A woman will never love, okay, guys, listen up, guys. A woman will never love you the way mama loved you, okay? There's one mama, you get one mommy, and that's it. Okay? That's it. You know, my mom is 90 years old and I'm sucking that stuff up because when she's gone, what I know as love on earth is gone. That does not exist in a female. But I'm aware enough to know that. Okay, these young men, they go through the so they'll you know, date a woman, right? Doesn't measure up, throw them away. Date another woman, doesn't measure up, throw them away. You know, date another one, no, this is not like mom, throw it away. Nobody can. Okay? So what brings on the guilt sometimes is not someone's personal action. Okay, ladies, you feel me? It's not their personal actions like they did something wrong. It's someone else treating them like they're a queen, like they're holier than thou. They start to feel guilty because they cannot deliver what's being implicated. Okay? It makes him very uncomfortable. This lady was jumpy. By the time I was done explaining, her eyes warmed up. She was like settled. She was like, wow. Okay? Because she felt heard. Many times women don't feel heard. They don't feel understood because men don't understand. The majority of men don't understand. So if you're a man, okay, and you're seeking a relationship with a woman, just understand that you are hardwired to love her. She is hardwired to love her children. You know what would happen if women were hardwired to love men? Tons and tons and millions and millions and millions and millions, maybe billions of children would be neglected because she would be distracted, because she would be loving a man instead of taking care of her children. And we see that happen. We see single moms do that. We see single moms do that. Right? Where she leaves the kids with the biological father, takes off and goes and does stuff, right? That doesn't happen very often. That happens less than the other way around. Okay? But nevertheless, okay, that happens. Okay? So you can't prove love with equations, but you can prove love with faith or being faithful. Okay? And that being said, you know, human beings were not meant to be monogamous. They weren't. They really weren't. Okay, this whole monogamous deal is a, you know, colonial thing, colonized, okay, colonies. And we're not gonna get too far into this. Okay, but if you ever need help with this and help with this area, hereforyourlifecoaching.com and I can help you with it very quickly, very easily. But anyway, okay. But love, you feel that feeling, and you know it's real. Okay, from a man, it's man to woman. From a woman, it's woman to children. So you experience it when you're young, either way, from mommy. Okay? But when you get out in the world, yeah, different, okay? So faith is a direct experience of trust in life that cannot be quantified. but can be deeply lived. You can live that love. Okay? And the thing that men really want to do is they really want to be in love. They really want to express love. Sometimes they do it more with material things. Sometimes they do it just with care. Okay, but they want to demonstrate it. And they want to be the man. They want to be the man. You know, yeah, I'm the man. I bought my wife a BMW. Yeah, I'm the man. You know, men like to do things like that, okay? Now, faith is a bridge, okay? Faith is like a bridge between the seen and the unseen. On one side, it's, you know, the material world, the tangible, the things you can touch, things you can feel, right? Objects, that kind of thing, material. Okay, it's visual, it's visual, it's measurable. Okay, but on the other side is the energetic, spiritual side. Now that's what I deal with. I'm a spiritual life coach. I'm a spiritual voice coach. And all that means is I deal with the energy in here. I know I don't look spiritual, right? I don't have the attire, the spiritual attire. I don't have the Tibetan. I will have Tibetan bowls, but I don't use them here. Okay. But my instrument for healing is here. This guitar is almost 100 years old. Almost 100 years old. I used to use it in concerts, my concert guitar. And now I use it for healing people through their voice. Okay? So, in the spiritual, energetic sense, faith allows us to walk between the worlds, these worlds, the world of the seen, the tangible, and the world of the unseen, the intangible, with ease. Because faith is the bridge that connects these two worlds. Okay? The material world, the spiritual world. The body, okay, and the spirit in here. Everyone is a spirit. You are a spirit that has been given a body. Okay? There's a separation. When we have faith, we can act without needing absolute certainty, right? Because we can go, okay, we'll just, you know, and this is the ask, believe, receive principle too. Okay, when you ask, you have to have faith in the believing part. You have to believe it's going to happen. That's called faith, right? You have to have faith. So when we have faith, we can act without needing absolute certainty, right? We can just kind of like, okay, we'll leave it to God or leave it to the universe, leave it to source, leave it to, right? Like that. We step forward even though the outcome isn't visible. It isn't here yet. It isn't tangible yet. The movement, that movement, right, shapes reality. Why? Because faith in many ways is energetic. It's a force. It's an energetic force. Okay, it's a creative force. It sets the vibration. It sets the vibration for what we attract. All of that. Take baby steps. God will open the doors for you as you take the steps towards whatever it is. Whoa, thank you. Wow, what was that? Dallas, thank you, Dallas. That was huge. I've never seen that before. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, thank you. I've never seen that before. But God will open the doors for you. And guess what happens when you stop? The doors stop opening. Why is that? Well, because God, okay, or the universe, source, however you believe, works like a GPS. Every time you change course, God is like, whoa, 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 hold on, right? You know that thing, the GPS thing, it starts thinking, going in circles, right? It's thinking. Okay, God is like that. God goes, oh, hold on, hold on, hold on. I got you. Hold on. And then, whoa, thank you, Dallas. Thank you, Dallas. And boom, God will lay out the plan because you're going that way now. You've changed direction. You've changed your mind. Now God is mapping out the plan this way. Hi, Rosanna. Hey, Rosanna. That's my buddy right there. Hi, Rosanna. Let me just press that button. There you go. Okay, so you know, but we have to have this faith in order to keep the belief. When we ask, believe, receive, right? We can't see the believe part. We have to hold it in here. You know, it's sort of like when you're a kid, right? And you ask mom for, I don't know, for me it was a bicycle when I was 16. And I asked my mom for this bike. It was a very expensive bike. Until today, it's my number one memory. When I got up in the morning and I walked out, thank you, Dallas, and I walked out to the living room where the Christmas tree was. It was a beautiful tree. It had glass ornaments with golden angels inside. My mom did all that stuff. She did it for me and my dad. You know, she wanted to make it special for us. And there was my bike. It was a Schwinn Super Sport, a blue one. And it's still fresh in my mind, like it happened last week or last Christmas. The most special memory, and that's when I remember being so excited about something. You know, so in my guided meditation, I do this guided meditation, and this guided meditation says think of when you're like so excited about something. That's my memory. That's my memory of that. So faith is like asking for it and knowing that it's gonna come, right? And waking up on Christmas morning, walking out to the tree, going, I knew it was gonna come. There it is. Right? Now we do this as kids. We do this when we're kids all the time. We have faith all the time. When you're a kid, you manifest everything all the time because you're too little to do it on your own. Covered up, and some girls just, flaunt themselves. And I can't say that either one is wrong. It's up to the individual. I'm very much into freedom of choice. Okay? Because I don't want somebody telling me what to do. Okay? So in my world, like, okay, you do what you want. You do you. You be you. I'm going to do me. You know, I like to wear this thing, so I wear this thing. You know, and you know, my friends always see the horsies. You're like, I'm always wearing something with a horsey on it, right? You know, I love horses. But there was a story about, I'll tell you the story about this, okay? So, this was a goal. And then I got to like the goal, and then I'm like, okay, well, why change? And so my closet's full of Ralph Lauren shirts. Not because I'm flexing, okay? But this is how it happened. A long time, this was my motivation. It actually led to a horse, a real horse. Okay, here, I'll show you my horse. But anyway, let me tell you the story as I look for the horse, okay? So I manifested this horse with the shirts. Okay, so let me show you my horse, and she was a beauty, and she died. I gave her away, but this was my horse, right here, Duchess. Okay, and I called her Baby Girl because I thought Duchess was a stuffy name. Okay, but that came after these. Okay. So let me tell you how this manifested, okay? So anyway, I was working for $5 an hour at a radio station, small ethnic radio station. It was a Filipino radio station. I was learning Filipino language and culture, and I'm very much into culture. I love culture, different cultures, and I admire that. I'm in awe of other people's cultures and ethnicities and backgrounds and that kind of stuff. I appreciate those things. So anyway, I'm learning Filipino or whatever. I'm making $5 an hour, okay? And this was back in the late 80s, long, 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 long time ago. I'm working for $5 an hour, and my boss comes in with one of these shirts, right? But long sleeve, like a dress shirt. And he comes in, and I'm like, wow, I never saw a horse on a shirt. I used to see penguins, Munsingwear, right? So, and I had those when I was a kid, with the penguin. And so I'm like, wow, a horse, that's different. So I asked him, I said, where do you get this horse from? Where do you get this horse shirt from? And he said, oh, Liberty House. He told me a local store here in Hawaii. So I'm like, okay, well, when I get paid, that's what I told myself. When I get paid, I'm gonna go get this horse shirt, right? Because this is cool. I love horses, right? And when I was a kid, the one thing that I really, really wanted that nobody got from me, my parents, was a horse, right? It was impractical, really. It was. Anyway, excuse me. So I go down, I get my paycheck, and like I'm making maybe $200 a paycheck at that time, okay? And so I go down to the store and I look and I asked the lady, excuse me, and I didn't even know it was called Ralph Lauren, okay? And I just, excuse me, ma'am, I'm looking for the shirts with the horses on it. Do you know where I can find that? And she kind of gave me a funny look, and she goes, oh, right over there in the corner down there. And so I walked over to the department store's corner, over the corner and whatever, and I saw the shirts, and I went up to this, those carousels that you hang the shirts on, right? And I went and looked, I go, oh, that's a nice one, right? With the stripes and everything. And I look at the price tag, and I'm like, oh my God, like OMG, right? It was like $125 for the shirt. And I was like, what? I was like, that's like more than half of my paycheck. Like, I don't make that kind of money. And I was very embarrassed. Talk about shame, right? Well, I shamed myself, right? Because I was just me, but I was ashamed. I was ashamed that I was making $5 an hour. So here's what I did. I made a declaration. And I said, one day. Don't say someday. Always say one day, because someday never happens. One day happens, okay? But I said, one day, I am going to make so much money that I am going to wear nothing but horsey shirts. That's what I called them at the time, right? And then I remember when I got this really good job. I was a production director of 3 different radio stations. And that's when I started making money, and I started doing a lot of work in voiceovers. I was a designated voice for a lot of the big companies and stuff in town. I did a lot of agency work. And so I started making, sizable money. And that's when I started, getting the horsey shirts, okay? And the rest, as they say, is history, okay? But that gave me the motivation to work harder, to strive more, not necessarily work harder. You don't really have to work hard in life to succeed. You can work long, okay? Some people work hard, construction, those guys, I admire those guys. They work hard. That's hard work. What I do is not hard. I use my brains, but I work long, okay? But I decided at that point, that gave me the motivation to bump up my game, to keep pushing, push. Okay. Later on, I learned, okay, I didn't have to push, but that's the way I did it. But I had faith. We're talking about faith this morning. I had faith that would happen. That was a goal. So when you make your list of goals, you have to have faith that you are going to achieve it. You have to know you're going to achieve your goals. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Okay? So now let's talk about faith as surrender and power. Okay? faith as surrender and power. Spiritual faith is paradoxical. Okay, it is both a surrender and an empowerment. So either way, okay, much like a sword can be used to, for a good purpose or a bad purpose. A gun can be used to get food for you, or it can be used to, do bad stuff, right? To rob people, whatever. Okay, so surrender, right? You let go of the need of control when you use faith that way. Okay, you don't have to control everything. You just have faith. Okay? And you're having faith in a higher energy. Okay? So you don't have to control things. You trust that what unfolds has to do with your goals. Okay? It has meaning. Okay? It has its own wisdom, in other words. Okay? Even if it's hidden first, even if you don't see it first. Okay? Empowerment is realizing that by trusting in the flow of life, you become a co-creator with it. But you have to be in that flow. And this is why I always say, like, the kingdom is in here. Jesus said the kingdom is in here. Because when you focus out here, you get distracted. Your distractors, okay, that's what I call them, right? They look away from the kingdom. When they look away from the kingdom, they get distracted into something else. People start identifying with their title, with their position, with their job, their occupation, with their sports, whatever. They start to identify with something else, away from themselves. And that distraction, when it pulls you into another reality, takes you away from this one. This is where the blessings are. This is where the magic happens. This is what you've been given to work with. And you've been given everything. You just need to discover it. And with this thing right here, right? With this thing, you can design your life. You could design your life. You can bring into fruition, right? You can bring into fruition anything you put forth with this thing. Okay? That's how powerful this thing is. That's why they say the pen is more powerful than the sword. All day long. Instead of passivity, spiritual faith awakens a calm confidence, inner knowing that you're supported, that you have a backer, that Jesus got you, that God got you, that Allah got you, that the universe got you, that source got you. However you believe. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. Okay? But you're supported, you're guided, and connected. The first universal law, okay, is the law of divine oneness. We are all connected through awareness. We are all aware. We are all part of awareness. Okay? We are all part of consciousness. We are all one consciousness. And human beings are very impressionable. And this is why things get interjected into consciousness. Violence gets interjected into consciousness. The media controls people. Okay, so people manifest, right? Manifestation. Let me run this by you. You ever see a movie, right? And you see things in the movies, and all of a sudden you see them appear in real life. How does that work? It works through people's subconscious. When 1 million people watch a movie, okay, it goes into their subconscious as a belief, depending on what part of the movie it is, right? When you get 1 million people to believe something, that's a lot of power. When you get one person to believe something, that's power right there. It manifests. You get 1 million people, you show 1 million human beings something, like a popular movie. And all of a sudden, those things are interjected into consciousness. And pretty soon you start seeing it in real life. it starts acting itself out in real life. This is why propaganda works. It's because human beings manifest to their subconscious. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. If you see the movie and you keep thinking about the movie, wow, that's a cool movie, and you keep thinking about what you saw, wow, that was really cool, right? Now, if 1 million people do that, okay, there you go. Faith as a frequency. Okay, now we're talking about emotional frequencies, right? From a metaphysical perspective, everything is energy. Faith has a vibrational frequency. It's not a specific thing like resonance where you have 2 tuning forks. It's not like that. Okay? But its vibration is openness, trust, expansion. When you embody faith, your energy field, okay, your emotions radiate stability. Okay? Even in uncertainty, you have stability and harmony. Why is that? Because you have faith, because you believe. Because no matter what's happening out here, in here you believe. In here you have faith. In whoever, whatever you believe. It's not so much important who you believe or what you believe. It's that you have faith and believe in something. Because I've seen it work for people that do witchcraft. I see it work for Christians. I see it work for Buddhists. I've seen it work for Taoists. I've seen Taoist people light candles and boom, manifestation happens. So I'm not really here to persuade anybody in their beliefs. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to talk about the human being and how it works. So fear, on the other hand, is the other opposite end. So faith belongs to the love category. So the highest vibration is love, the lowest vibration is fear. Faith belongs to the positive vibrations. It's above the 50 percentile. Down here, it starts with worry. At the 50 percentile, when you go down towards fear, it starts with worry, and then it gets worse, all the way down to fear. Okay? At the bottom. Fear contracts energy as well. Okay? Doubt scatters it. Okay? So fear pulls all that energy like this, and doubt throws it out there. Faith centers and strengthens it. When you believe, okay, and that's why they say when you ask, believe, receive, if you're doing this process and you're not getting what you want, there's doubt and fear somewhere here. And it's normally here in the faith part, in the believing part. That's where it happens. Doubt and fear. So sometimes you put forth an intention, right? Like, I am so happy and grateful now that I have $1,000. Thank you. What does the subconscious do in a situation like that? It gives you suggestions. Well, you could raise $1,000 by doing this. You could get a side hustle. You could get another part-time job. You could, whatever. Because you will constantly have these ideas. Now, the superconscious gives you intuitive thought about these ideas. This is divine guidance. The superconscious is divine guidance, or God. And as you take the steps, paying attention to the divine guidance, the doors start to open, the right people come into play, and pretty soon you get what you want. Pretty soon that $1,000 is yours. Okay, I gave a scenario about mowing lawns. Okay, I said, what if the affirmation said, I am so happy and grateful now that I have $500, thank you. And you get intuitive thought. You're sitting on your patio one day. You're looking out at the neighborhood and you get intuitive thought and you go, wow, maybe I can ask my neighbor if I can mow his lawn. charge him $50. You go and ask your neighbor. Your neighbor's, oh yeah, sure, yeah, I could use some help. Boom, there you go. Now you're doing his lawn. Then you ask his neighbor, right? Maybe he agrees, you know? And then you go, wow, this thing is pretty catchy. Like, you know why? It's the faith. It's the faith, right? Because out of experience, you've succeeded the first time, right? So you try again. Well, I succeeded that time. You know, sometimes people shut down after a denial or after a failure, right? But now you're on a roll, right? You got the first guy, okay? So you go see the second guy. And he goes, yeah, sure, yeah, $50. Oh, that's a good price. Yeah, mow my lawn, go ahead. Now you got the second, now you got $100. Okay? 100, 200, 300, 400, right? 500. That's how many people. That you could go in a average development and get that many yards to mow and raise $500 in under 2 weeks, guarantee. All from a divine idea, all from intuitive thought. Sitting on your patio, all of a sudden the idea hits you, hey, maybe I could go mow the guy's lawn. And now you're on a roll. Now you did 500. Maybe after that, it's like, hey, maybe if I bought some equipment and got a business license, maybe I could do this full time. And then you start a landscaping business. I'm just saying. Okay, but this is how these things start. It starts with intuitive thought. Faith is transformative. It will transform. Okay? It'll transform things from one to the other, from one to the other. You may start out mowing lawns and end up with a landscaping company when you only intended to make so much. 500 was the goal. You're going to raise $500. After that, you go, wow, there's a demand for landscaping out here. So let's get a van. Let's make a business. Let's buy a couple of lawnmowers. Let's get my friends to help me. You know, well, I'll pay them. Right? It's that easy. It's that easy. The only thing you cannot do is be lazy. That's all. You have to be willing. Okay? And sometimes it's something else. You know, in today's world, it may be a digital thing. You may be working on somebody's computer. You may be teaching old people how to use a computer. Or somebody with a cell phone teaching somebody an iPhone. Whatever it is, be resourceful. But always focus on helping people. When you focus on helping people, word gets around. People start coming. Things start happening. God comes into the picture and starts helping you help people. Always put people first. Never put money above people. Okay. So now faith in practice. That's faith as in frequency. Okay. And like attracts like. Okay. So you will attract people that are faithful if you are faithful. You will attract people that are on that same frequency. Okay, because there's an attraction. You want to be around people that believe like you do. You know, I see Christians wanting to be around Christians. Nothing wrong with that. Right? I see, you know, motorcycle gang people want to be around motorcycle gang people. Nothing wrong with that. That's their people. That's what they do. They ride motorcycles, they go to bars, they have beer, it's a lifestyle. They also fundraise, Toys for Tots, they do good things. Okay? This is not about judgment. This is about ideas. This is about how God works in your life. Faith in practice. Here we go. To live with spiritual faith doesn't mean you never struggle, okay? And manifestation, right? When you're doing your affirmations, this is not a magic thing that fills up your bank. This is something that makes your life easier. It gives you deliberate control over what's going to happen based upon what you're working on in here. Okay? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. It all comes from within. Okay? That's why Jesus said the kingdom is within. because you can work on anything in here and it will materialize out here. It's the universal law of correspondence. Okay, so really fast. In confusion, okay, with faith, you remember that clarity will come. You understand rhythm, the universal law of rhythm, right? Things go like this, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And once you learn your rhythm, you can predict where things will start to go down. And then you can work on that point to bring it up. That's what I did. I do that with one of my clients right now. Every 2 weeks, he used to just fall apart. He doesn't do that anymore. Because now, every 2 weeks, we put a little bit more energy into that week that he normally would decline. And it supports him and it lifts him up. And now he doesn't have that problem. He doesn't feel defeated every 2 weeks. Okay, so everybody's different. Okay, let me go through this really quick. Okay, so in difficulty, you trust that there's something valuable hidden within the experience when you have faith. Okay, faith in practice. Okay, so meditation, connecting the stillness beneath the noise. Meditation. When you're in meditation, let's say it another way, when you sit still and listen. Close your distractors. Sit still and listen for 10 minutes a day. It will change your life. You will feel the expansiveness of being. Okay? Being. Your being. It's expansive. But in order to experience this, you have to stop. You have to close your distractors and you have to be still. When you're too distracted in exterior things, you will never get there. You will never understand. You will never feel this. You will never produce these types of manifestations that come when you are still. Okay? You need to pray, but you need to meditate. Praying is speaking to God. Meditation is listening to God. And don't forget gratitude. Okay? Surrender rituals are also important. The process of letting go, cord cutting, okay? That's another thing. And we'll talk about cord cutting on another episode, okay? On another live, okay? But just know that when someone is, let's say, draining you of energy, when someone is doing things that, maybe on purpose or maybe not even on purpose, maybe they're just being around you, and they drain you of energy, okay? Do this. I cut and clear any and all blockages to and from me. I cut and clear any and all blockages to and from me, okay? That means you don't project any blockages upon anyone else, and you cut any blockages coming in from someone else. Energetically, okay? Because everything is energy. I'm not talking about evil spirits. I'm not talking about demons. I'm not talking about any of that. Because blockages start in your subconscious, okay? And when you project blockages, it's through attitude. It's through the things that you say that make other people think things, okay? So when you clear up blockages within yourself, that's what you're doing. Okay, Hawaiian Ho'oponopono is very good for that. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Try that, look it up, look into it, it's a thing, okay? Thank you so much for being with us, you guys. It's 8 o'clock, I gotta get going, and I gotta run today. There's clients, it's Aloha Friday in